So I'd like to take a little bit of time and talk to you about ESChat and share with you why it's different than other broadband push-to-talk solutions. I'd also like to talk about its integration with public safety radio networks via ISSI, which we have configured here. Let's start with the current product. And of course, we're looking at an Android. The layout of ESChat is set up in a tab-based user interface where we start with contacts. So contacts are the individual users in the system. They're each shown by the naming convention set up by the administrator. In this case, we've shown what carrier the devices are on, and we've got devices on AT&T and FirstNet and Verizon. And up here we also have two blue dots. The blue dots actually indicate radios. So we see an Apex 7000XE, which is here. It has a P25 unit ID of 5009, and an Apex 8000XE, which has a unit ID of 35,000 over here. We can initiate calls from the contact list by selecting one or multiple calls. If we select a broadband user, we can then select further users. So with 3 users selected, if I pressed push to talk, we would start a 4-way call with this phone and 3 others. Similarly, we could start a private call with a radio. For example, if we pick the Apex 7000, we can send a PTT alert to that radio, which then begins to ring. We can respond, and at this point, we're now in a private call. So you can do private calling from phone to phone or from phone to radio, or you could do it from radio to phone as well. Radio to phone, you could type in the unit ID of the phone and start it that way. And in that case, it's also an alert call. The second tab is our group tab. And here we see groups that are homed on the ESChat system having the ESChat logo as the identifier. But we also have groups that are homed on the external P25 systems. These radios are each on different P25 networks. This one's on a UHF Tate system, and this one's on an 800 megahertz EF Johnson system. Top group 302 is on the 800 megahertz system, and the other 3 top groups are on the UHF system. We can block traffic if we don't want to hear traffic coming in on a particular channel. We can block it. This might be if we're out on surveillance and we don't want dispatch traffic coming in, we might want to block that traffic. To make a call, we simply select the group that we want and press push to talk. We could also long press on a group, and among the other things we could do, we could send a message. We could attach a picture as well to that, and then that message gets sent out to that group and can be read over in the message tab. The map tab shows the location of all the individual users. We're all kind of clustered up here in an office. So if you click on a single user, you'll get info on that user. If you click on that user name, you'll get some more information about what you can do. If you don't have anybody selected on the map, the screen becomes a geofence. So if we press push to talk, it would call everybody on our screen. Finally, we have our recent call tab, which is also where we would access our playback option if it is enabled on your network. The Gen 2 client is quite a bit different, mainly on this screen. It is a complete redo of the Android product, which has been in the market for 10 years. So this is a complete rewrite. It's chock full of features and requests from customers. But really specifically, the biggest difference you'll see is that it has the option to show a channel view instead of a group view. The group view for us is really more broadband push-to-talk or POC-centric, whereas the channel view is really designed for the more radio-centric user. And as we do more and more hybrid systems with ISSI connectivity to P25 or AIS connectivity to DMR networks, this is a much better presentation of the interface, especially on the channels or on the systems where we've got a lot of ISSI channels. The logic in the layout is that you have your channels. You can select which ones you want to enable to receive on. If you hit the RX button, it disables that channel. We can re-enable it. You might have a channel that has listen only or monitor only capabilities, in which case you'll have that visual indication. Again, you'll see the groups that are homed on the ESChat system versus the groups that are homed on the external system. And similar to the rotary dial function on the radio, we select which group is our primary group to talk on or channel. So here, if we press the push to talk button, we're going to broadcast on channel or talk group 2001. Now, the Gen 2 product has the ability to participate in up to 4 calls simultaneously. So that's new. So when we have a lot of active calls coming up and going down, to be members of 4 calls simultaneously is a tremendous advantage. We also support priority scan with a configurable dwell timer, so you can move between your talk groups depending on what's happening. If your selected talk group is idle and you get a call coming in on a different channel. So here we're now selected on talk group 2000. This radio happens to be on 2000, so if we initiated a call, we would get that traffic on our selected group, and also it would bring up the talk group as part of the group screen. That's completely as expected. Same thing if we started the call from the phone, you get the same thing. You get the state in the new widget. You get the talker ID in the widget, just like you got it on the top of the screen over here. The widget can be expanded, and it will show up to 4 calls if they're all active at any given time. If you're on a different channel, so here we have talk group 2000 selected on the channel screen. Let's switch the radio over to 2001 and call. Now what will happen is we'll go into a priority scan mode, and we have a visual dwell indication on our primary channel while we're now talking on 2001. One thing you'll see is that the name of the user is showing up on the radio and the other phone. So this is the Verizon Galaxy S10 coming through. And same thing, you have the radio ID. You've got the Apex 7000XE showing on both the widget and the top of the other phone. So the passing of unit IDs between systems is one of the key features in the advanced interoperability model that ESChat supports when we connect via ISSI or AIS. The priority scan does actually take into account not just the fact that you're operating on a channel that's not in use or that your primary channel is not in use, but every channel in ESChat has a priority associated with it, as does every user within ESChat. In terms of encryption, ESChat encrypts all calls and all messages, and encryption keys are changed on every call. Now, when we connect to an external network, like a P25 system here, we can connect ESChat into the KMF of the P25 system so that whenever the keys are updated on the P25 system, the keys are also updated in ESChat. You could also do static key loading in ESChat. We see here that the Apex 7000 is showing it is in encrypted mode. It's got AES encryption enabled on all channels. So when we do key up, we do have a fully encrypted end-to-end call, and of course the passing of the unit IDs. And then of course over here we've got the 800 megahertz system, and we could bring that up as well. So it's a pretty advanced setup. You've got the broadband devices. Each of these devices has not only their ESChat configuration, they have unit IDs assigned from 2 P25 systems. So they can be identified. They will show up with a different talker ID on each system. So, back here on the 800 megahertz system, this phone comes up with a talker ID of 7001, but the same phone, now this guy shows up with a user ID of 6210. So each phone has a different P25 ID because each phone has the ability to talk on multiple P25 networks. So it's quite a bit different, quite a bit more advanced than everything else that's on the market. And I want to thank you for your time to get to share some of what we have been doing and what we are doing and what we will be doing with the new version of the ESChat product.